All right, welcome. Good afternoon, and thank you for attending in person. It's always good to give me stage fright. Um, so this is the Executive Director at Town Hall. I conduct these town halls 4 times a year. It's good to be with everybody, and we are going to be discussing some of the current events of the community currently. And so I have a lot of slides. I have 51 today. So we have to, some of them are fun though. So, and then we were listening to the music. I don't know if anybody was able to recognize the music that was playing. Some of the directors are nodding their heads. Anybody notice what was playing? Yes, yes, The Doors. And the reason why I quickly chose this music is that we have a little treasure nearby. It's called, I'm sure you all know about it, it's called the MIM, the Musical Instrument Museum. And this weekend, we have the only surviving member of the Doors who's going to be at the MIM. So, right here, Robbie Krieger of the Doors. So it's all sold out. and and it's actually, I've seen some of my favorite artists there for so little money. $25 tickets. It's treasure. You just have to go and look ahead of time. You know, they have months of concerts listed ahead of time. But this is great. So I was actually getting my hair cut on Tuesday night, and my barber told me about it. And yeah, I did. We get talking, and then he keeps cutting. You can see the result. There's nothing left. So anyway, I just thought I'd make mention of that. So today we're going to talk topics of finances, the community, and um, capital projects, and a lot more. So I'm going to get going, and then I've tried to time myself with the presentation, and it had taken me 45 minutes or so. So we'll have a Q&A when we're done. First, I wanted to start with the financials. We're going to try to get the boring numbers first. So the big story of first quarter financials at VIA Grayhawk is that we are very, very close to budget. So it is good, indeed. So we have 3 columns here, and the first column is what actually happened. In the middle column, we have what we had budgeted. And the last column is the variance. So quickly, you can get a quick look at what happened at the community. So we have budgeted 7.164 million of revenue during the first quarter. And the final number is 7.152, a little bit short on the revenue, right? Just a tad short, but pretty much on budget on 7.1 million. It's really hard to get to zero. As we go down, we'll look at the expenses. We can see that our expenses, so what we budgeted was 6.629, and the actual was 6.610 with a variance of 19,000. So we saved a little bit of money. Had a little less activity than planned, saved a little money. So the long story here is that we are very, very close to our budget. You know, we want to see a number. It's nice to see a positive number here. And the reason for this is that it's good to have a cushion because a lot of things can happen during a year's time. And when you have a surprise, then you have a little bit of money that perhaps was not budgeted, but it's there and it's nice to have it just to bail you out. We closed, I had a meeting with Michelle a few days ago, and as you can imagine, the month of April has ended as well, and the story continues. So we are even closer to zero here. So what's the number? Like almost zero, right, Michelle? There we go. So we're very, very close to budget. Currently in the month of May, we have a little bit of tailwind. Tailwind is good. It kind of pushes your boat, right? So with a really high census in our care center, in the skilled nursing, and good occupancy there. And also, we're going to go into our next topic here. The sales year to date have been very good. So currently, and we are still in a search for a director, but nonetheless, our 3-member sales team currently is not sitting doing nothing, I can tell you. They're very, very busy. And so as of last Friday, we were 99.2% sold and reserved. That means that we only had, as of Friday, 2 units that were currently unassigned that we are attempting to sell to someone. And also the wait list currently is 92. It's dropped a little bit from the last town hall, but we're at about 110-ish. So we have also 9 units in the turn process. So this means that the unit is reserved or somebody who's awaiting to move in, but we're still remodeling or fixing up the place. That can take a month or it can take 4 months. Sometimes a unit may remain empty longer depending on special circumstances. So the real number, what is very important, is that we are 95.4% of paid occupancy at the moment. So, and the budget is right around there. So it's not great, it's not good, it's kind of right on. I just wanted to show a quick photo here of last week. We had a sales event. Some of you are in the photo. I hope it's okay that I'm showing it. And this was just a beautiful shot with some of Viet Greyhawk residents, Jim McDonald's here. I was out last week. I was not at the event, so. And then we had some food too. I thought that this was a good picture of Chef Ray here, who's making sure it's good. All right. Another topic we had during the first quarter, we had the infamous skilled nursing survey. And one day, if you have a chat with Melanie, I was in that boat one day when I managed the care center in Palo Alto at the V there. It's unnerving. They show up randomly, you don't know when, and they're gonna look at everything from food to infection control to how bed sheets are washed to how medication is stored in refrigerators to the notes that a nurse may have done regarding a fall incident. It's unnerving, right? There's so many things that go in these facilities. But the survey lasted 5 days, 5 working days. There was one minor finding, and let me tell you, it's very minor. And the survey was performed in February. So one thing that I like to do sometimes is to show this image, which is taken from Medicare.gov. As you know, we receive federal funding for some of our services here, and therefore we fall under the scrutiny of the regulatory teams of those branches of government. And they have a rating system. And our skilled nursing currently is doing phenomenally well when it comes to a comparison nationally to other similar types of facilities. So we have 5-star in all the rated domains, so health inspection, staffing, and quality measures. And of course, I can't spend too much time on this, but I have a few images here you can go into each of these domains, you can click on the page, and then it leads you to more information. So the date of the most inspection report, it has not been updated yet. It was in February of 24, but this is the 22. And then we had 0. This is a tour de force here, 0. So they show up for a week, they can't find a thing. This year's 1, but it still bodes really well because, as you can see, the number of health citation in the US for one skilled nursing facility is 9.4, and in Arizona it's 6. I don't know if Arizona is a little more, I don't know what the word would be here, nicer to our operators, but that's the way it is. No complaint inspections between these dates, or some in the past 3 years that have resulted in a citation. We don't like citations. They cost money. We haven't had any of those, and knock on wood, of course. So this is, once again, just some portion of the total information on the website. It shows, the average number of residents per day. Our skilled nursing is fairly small, so 33.7. It shows other averages, but it also shows the number of staff hours per residents per day, 4 hours and 52 minutes, which is well above those national and Arizona averages. Registered nurses hours per resident day, 1 hour and 18 minutes per day per resident, when your averages are at about 40 minutes, right? So you get another 45 minutes of an RN pretty much for you. Now, it's not 1.5 hours without them leaving. It's throughout the day. They'll visit you, and they'll work on your care plans or whatnot. And then in the quality measures, once again, I just chose here, I think there are 42 different quality measures, but it just gives you an idea. Number of hospitalizations per 1,000 long stay resident days. Oh my gosh, what does that mean? It means that our rating here is fairly low, and you want lower numbers. It means that we're not sending people to the hospital as much as others do. So we take care of more problems in-house. So it shows that the skill set is probably a little better, and there's also more time of clinicians spent with the patients. We're not perfect on everything, but we do fairly well. When you're rated 5-star in every category, you're doing good. So kudos to our team in the care center. Okay, we want to talk about the remodel because it's coming, So I have quite a few slides here. There's a lot of information to go through. I'm sure there will be questions. Keep them for the end, and I'll do my best. So we've done a couple of things. During the past year, we've had several ad hoc meetings with some of your resident peers. Some of them who just have a lot of interest in the remodel or participate in committees, and we've listened to comments, and we've tried to come up with a final design for phase 2 and phase 3 of the remodel. Phase 2 being mainly corridors, and we may include the lobby area with this. And phase 3 will be all of the secondary spaces like the library or the information center or the card room, and there are more, of course. So and this will be done in the next couple of years, and this will wrap up the remodel of the community. So we're done. We've tried to integrate as much as possible as resident feedback. Not everything can work, all right? So I have some slides to show you here. We're kind of going to go through somewhat quickly, and hopefully you get a sense of how things are going to look. All right, so phase 2. The areas that we're looking at, just as I was saying, was the entry and reception, living room. Living room is the main floor rotunda. And you will see we are going to have a rendering for that space, and we will post it. Don't know where yet. When we get it, we'll probably put it in that space for a while and then move it to the corridor in front of the sales office where we had the other renderings. But you will see why we're renaming it the living room. It's going to be a much more welcoming space, in my opinion, with more seating that makes sense, sort of like the same thinking as we did in the bar with chairs and people who can really visit and so on. So we'll get to it. We have the library and a computer room, the mail room, theater, conference room, card room, activity room, lounges and resident corridors, and elevator lobbies. So we are still with the concept of desert breeze, and we are trying to bring some of the organic shapes, colors, patterns that we see in the Arizona desert. These are some of the colors, and those have already been implemented in the Alpenglow, in our new bar, and in Prickly Pear. More of these ideas and concepts and shapes. So bird's eye view, right? We are the gray hawk that flies in the sky and has a vision of what the ground looks like. There are some of these patterns and colors, as you can see here. The entry. So the entry should be the ultimate, all encircling demonstration of this concept. And I don't have a sample of the carpet here, but the entry of the carpet will look like this, with the chandelier that will look like this, mirrors, chairs, and tables, right? But this will be the main piece. As you enter the community, you should feel the wind, the high distance sort of topographic images that the Greyhawk would see from high above in the sky with some of the same tones and colors. Okay, it's on this slide too. The entry desk and reception. So we're making a few design changes. Currently, we have a circular desk. We're going to change that to a rectangular desk. We've had a lot of issues with, because it's circular, it just gets dinged a lot with walkers or baskets or whatnot. So we hope this way we're going to be able to preserve the integrity of the desk without so much repairs. But it's going to look somewhat similar. We're adding some cabinet space here. Now these doors, don't mind the windows. Those will not be there. We're going to have the same doors in those areas. This was just for the design, for the photo here. You're going to be recognizing some of these shapes. For instance, we have similar in our bar. So this will be integrated in some of these areas. You're going to start seeing things that we have elsewhere. It should all tie up nicely in the community. So this is the entry elevation. Just, I don't have too many comments on this. So the living room. Living room is once again, the main floor rotunda. And we're gonna make some changes to how things look. So this is the bird's eye view. You have the elevators here, and this way you would be exiting the community, all right? This is the stairwell. It should be repaired by the weekend and available, okay? Goodness, that fire door has been such an ordeal. So we have the elevators, which will be redone. We'll talk about this in a little bit. But as you can see, we're going to use a circular natural shape of this area to create additional seating, and more seating that is more conducive for social, right? It's a little difficult right now. The chairs are kind of far away from each other. There's not a lot of them. So we're going to really try to make this be a living room. Now, I do have a photo of what the rendering will look like, but please note that because this technology does not show colors exactly, it looks a little more orange than it really is. All right, so here it is. So we will have a rendering of that. It does look, the wood tones are not correct. We're not going to be repainting or changing the millwork. We're going to keep it as is. Slight changes to the fireplace, but a lot of changes. We're going to have carpet now. That tile is gone. 25 years old. So we're changing that. We're putting carpet which will have just the feel of a living room where you can sit, relax, and just enjoy. Talk with folks as you wait and just make it more cozy and comfortable. All right? So we will have a rendering of that. I don't have a date yet. You can see a lot on this. We'll come back to the curio cabinets here in a little bit. All right. We'll go a little quicker now. You'll see some of the carpet patterns in the different rooms. And I need to go a little bit faster because there's still a lot of slides. So library, you can see the floor plan here. So we've worked with the library committee. And even from this slide, we have a couple more changes that we're probably going to be able to, after discussion with our friends from the library committee, we're going to be able to integrate. So, but it will look generally like this, and with tables and lights. And for instance, I know we had a discussion about this one. This changes a little bit from what it is. The carpet samples, once again, reminds you of the Desert Breeze concept with the shapes and the feathers and the weavings and from high above. The computer room, so which is just adjacent to the library. You can see a bit of a floor plan here. We're making some changes, right? You can see some of the furnitures and some of the millwork that we will integrate in these locations. All right, the mailroom, it's a big one. It seems like everybody goes there, and there's been a sense that the mailroom is a bit of a social room. People like to visit. You run into someone you haven't seen for a while, and so we're going to change the floor plan a little bit. We're going to have this counter here, which we're looking at all ADA requirements, but there will be a trash can in there, recycling. It will be accessible for everybody. But it's also a nice place just to come around and stand. There will be a wheelchair area as well, where if you see a friend, you can just put your mail down and chat for a bit. That table, that's the puzzle table. And I have been made to promise that it would stay there. So to our friends who love puzzles, that's the location, all right? We had discussions for a while about maybe putting the puzzle table in the library or in the computer room. It just couldn't work. So we're gonna leave it there. Oh, all right. Okay, so some of the elevations in the mailroom. So I know that the concept of the memorials in this community have been, we've had the rose, the piano, and things have changed. So we thought, let's dedicate an area to memorials. So we will now have a memorial wall where we'll have shelves and frames where we can do something really nice for some of our residents who've passed away. We'll have new cabinetry. We'll have a new touchdown television as well. This one, I do believe, Renee, it's a touch screen, right? Yep. And so that's the mailroom and information center. The theater is not going to change a lot. We tried a lot of different scenarios here because the shape of the room is just so difficult to sit more people. But we found some efficiencies here. We're going to have a much larger screen. And for a while, we thought, wouldn't it be nice to display on this wall and have the seating, but we had this wall, it was very complex. So it's gonna have to remain that way. You see some of the carpet patterns. You see a lot of these secondary spaces will have, so one of the concern is that we don't want this, what I heard from residents, we don't want to have a ton of different carpets. It's good to have subtle variations from room to room, but let's try to connect. So the designers really took that to heart, and you will see that these have a lot of the similar tones and patterns, but the carpets are still different. That is the theater layout, as I was discussing. The conference room, so the conference room won't change that much. Some of the chairs will be different nonetheless. A lot of this conference room is used by both staff and residents. And so we took a lot into consideration here with the furniture that we're going to put in and how the tables will work. The card room. So in the card room, as you can see here, we still have millwork that is of good quality. So we're going to keep it. But we're going to make some changes nonetheless to the lighting in the room and some of the faucet appliances, doorknobs, and so on, and some of the furniture as well. As you can see here, a bit of a different carpet, but same tones, same shapes. So this is the lounge. We have two of them. We named them lounge, but they are those spaces here where you see I call them overlooks. I'm not sure what they're officially called, but they're going to be lounge layouts now. We used to have a curio cabinet here on this floor right outside of this room. And during the remodel, we tried to move that cabinet, and it had aged, and it was just not salvageable for another 10 years for sure. So we have new curio cabinets. We're going to have two of them. So they're going to be located right above the Ocotillo room here, one on each side. So that's where 3D resident art will be displayed. We felt like it was a good area to give the art a lot of exposure. There will be a bench as well and some chairs for people to sit, and we can turn the chairs, or however, if people want to look at this meeting, like we're having residents up there. Hello. All right. Okay, resident corridors and elevator lobbies. So what I just showed you will probably most of this work will be done next year. We're going to start with the corridors. And I don't have dates quite yet, but it does look like we're going to be starting during the summer months. Now, the disruption to residents with corridors is, even though it's a 3-month project, will be somewhat minimal to each of you, because we have different floors, we have different wings, and the workers really will be at one location at a time. So there will be paint work, there will be tearing the old carpet and pads, there may be some concrete work to even the floors, and then we will also put the new carpet. So all in all, you should expect disruptions in front of your apartment for a day or two. It should be somewhat minimal, right? And we'll work with you. We will send instructions. I've been through this process already. One thing I want to ask, and you're going to hear me say it a lot, is please follow signage. Please, please. I've seen crazy things with very clear signage, even once with a security person who was pushed out of the way, and this person hopped over buckets and carpet rolls onto glue, and it was not good, let me tell you. This really happened on California Friends. All right, so aloe blooms in the canyon is really the theme for the corridors. Once again, I've already shown this, and we had carpet samples for a small group of residents who participated, and a little bit more in the remodel, and also to our senior management team. So here are some of the samples of how things are going to look in the corridors. Once again, one of the requests we had was, Yannick, we're concerned that your door drops are just too much. There is such a contrast between your main corridor and where the apartment door is. So the designers went with this and they said, okay, let's meet halfway. So the company and the design firm still feels it's important that there be some distinction where apartment doors are located. Some of these corridors are very long and it can be daunting to know even when to stop. So they went halfway with the carpet pattern from Desert Breeze by adding these flowers that will somewhat come out of the door drop, but in the middle, it's continuous. So you have a half door drop, meeting halfway, residents, company, kumbaya, all right? So once again, we had some samples of these. The reception was pretty good. It's going to look quite different than the blue-ish carpet tones and the more yellow walls that we currently have. So it sort of gives you a bird's eye view really quick here of the looks. So in the rotundas, we're going to have more of those flower patterns. And then as you enter corridors, they will be reserved for these half door drops. Once again, colors a little bit distorted here. We will have a board that contains some of these color samples, right? But we are drastically moving away from the yellowish tones that we've been having with those desert colors. So much more earthy tones that go very well with the carpet. The new light fixtures do provide a sense. They're very much the same throughout the community. And also the sconce of each apartment will be replaced. There was a discussion about the doorbells. We will work on that. We have some, there's Robert here. He just stepped out. You heard doorbells and you laughed. We have some doors with up to 5 doorbells. Some people, I do understand each of them has a purpose, but we're going to try to dial this down and to bring some sort of standardization. All right. So that was the presentation from RSB. I think there's a lot of exciting in this. We're going to get to work. We're doing a little bit of a paint. We're going to test the paint in the next couple of weeks with an area in one of our corridors. It's not going to be very large, but it will be the end of a corridor where we'll do the painting. And we're going to be able to tweak colors here so that we get it just right. You use a computer, and it's somewhat difficult to see how with the natural lighting in the windows. So the designers will be coming in, we'll do the painting, the different colors, and then we'll adjust the tone so that we have it exactly where we want it to be. All right? All right, a quick word about corridors, post-remodel. And I've addressed this a little bit. So we will continue to allow for alcove personalization, so your door drop. Some of you have personal items that you love to see there and display. And we're going to be continuing to do this. Having said that, we will need to come up with some rules so that it is not too much, it is not potentially a hazard. So more to come on that. We'll work, and hopefully we can work with the resident committees like Building and Grounds to come up with some rules so that, frankly, we have things that are probably just too much. It just goes way outside the alcove. It takes almost the whole space. So start thinking about this, right? Take a look at what you're displaying, and if it's good, you have a photo of you and it's meaningful about what you did, that's great. But if there's maybe too much, or there are objects that are sharp that someone could trip on, or start thinking, because we're going to standardize a little bit the alcoves, but we will continue personalization. Okay? Different topic, Alpenglow. We have reopened lunch service, as we said we did when Chef Ray is here with us today, and we do have very low participation on the Alpenglow lunch. Sometimes we have 3 or 4 diners, sometimes 10, 12 diners. Now bear in mind, one server can do probably 25 covers. A fairly well-trained server will be able to do that. There's a full menu that we need to upkeep. We need to purchase the food. True, it could probably be reutilized if it's not used for lunch, but that's not for everything. So we need to look at the utilization of Alpenglow for lunch. And at 3 diners per lunch, it just doesn't make sense to have servers, cooks in the kitchen, the food, and then we're selling very little. So we will continue lunch. We are not stopping it, but we do want to say that if utilization does not increase, we may make modifications and look at the days that are most attended and open on those days only, and we'll see how things go. But lunch continues over summer as usual. I just wanted to say this, there is an expense for this, and it's hard to spend the money and get so little utilization. Just wanted to say we take surveys here, as you know, maybe too many, but we just finished our employee survey, and we don't have the official scores yet, but we know one thing. We know that we recertified as a great place to work. And you'll say, well, Yannick, what does that have to do with us residents? It has to do with the fact that certifying shows engagement from our employees, and they believe in the process. 93% of our employees took the survey. That's pretty good. Almost all of them, they're involved, they want to be heard, they have things to say. So we recertified again. Forgive, those dates are wrong. It should read April 24 to April of 25. I couldn't find the picture. So all 9 other communities as well have certified, as well as our corporate office. I went to a conference a few weeks ago. I wanted to talk about it just for a minute because it's the Senior Living Conference. It was in Phoenix this year, so I just went. I actually went last year too. It was in a different state, but we were asked to go, so we all went as executive directors. Last year, the main topic that was buzzing around the conference was artificial intelligence. AI this, AI that, but there was no implementation of anything. This year, I could not believe how much implementation of artificial intelligence are being attempted as we speak. Let me give you a couple of examples. There's a skilled nursing in a Northern California CCRC. I will keep the name confidential, and it is not via Palo Alto, has entirely done away with its call light system. They are now using AI. The resident speaks. Resident or patient says, hey, I'd like a glass of water. Those words are registered by the AI, triaged based on what else is going on. If somebody else says, I just fell, all of the buzzers go on all the CNAs and nurses, and they run to that place. Now, in the meantime, the generated voice tells the resident who wants water, they'll be right with you, probably 2 or 3 minutes. It knows ahead of time how long it's going to take. Another system, AI-based scheduling systems, learn the behavior of staff and allows for greater flexibility. Schedules are done by a computer. Let's see a group of, let's call it caregivers in our assisted living. It learns the day that they work the most, and it anticipates that. It allows for a lot of flexibility. The ultimate will be is if we were able to schedule, everybody can have a different schedule as long as the business is covered. That's really hard to do. We could be moving in that direction. Some really cool things with AI. Now, there's good things with AI, but there's also some threats, as you can imagine, right? You could get a phone call with a voice that sounds just like me, with the same accent that says, Mr. Becky, we didn't receive your monthly fee. I'll take your credit card right now, right? And it sounds just like Yannick. So there are also threats. We'll have to navigate this, but some cool stuff that could really help efficiencies. All right, quickly, some capital projects. So I think you remember that we changed the wings of the porte cochere. The wood had deteriorated. It was at 25 years. It's a long time. So all of this has been replaced. We're done with the work. There's for another 25. This summer, actually in the month of August, we are going to be doing phase 2 of the kitchen floor. This is in disrepair, and we're going to be doing that in August. So this is the kettles area, right? We are still going. I have Chef here, and I've got Robert Davis. I think we will operate pretty much as we used to. We will have little differences to our menu. So this is about a week or 2 of work. It will take some of our equipment out, but we're getting some other equipment. We'll do our very best to bridge the gap. Just a heads up. First, second week of August currently. We're putting a new material. We're not putting these tiles anymore. They're long 8x4 boards. They're about 2 or 3 millimeters thick, very solid, very grippy. There's no grout to worry about. And it's super durable. And it's somewhat easy to clean. Monique's here. Somewhat easy? Oh, she says no. All right, it's hard to clean, but it does a lot of good things. All right, we're also remodeling the 2 dining rooms in the care center. So skilled nursing and assisted living. You see some of the samples here. We've tried to carry the desert breeze into these. And one thing that I've noticed, and I'm talking with Melanie right now and some of the designers, we need a brand for these. We need a name. Who likes to go to the dining room and assisted living? I want to find them some nice names that match how they look. Here's where we're at. We're gutting it out. This is assisted living, 2nd floor. It's going to be brand new. And there's a skilled nursing, dining, some vibrant colors. Okay, this is some of the last slides here before we get to the Q&A. I'm glad I'm keeping on time. So as part of our resident survey back in October of last year, as you recall, we got some low scores in our culinary department, dining. And they were low scores. Now, the timing of that survey was after 6 months of closing down and having buffet food, but still the scores were disappointing. And it led to a lot of changes, right? So if you saw the survey results, you can pretty much flip this image where your excellent score would be right here. It was going this way. A lot of work has been done. So these are your comments. So here's a few things that we did in our action plan. We changed the comment cards so that they actually match the survey questions. So when you fill a comment card and when you fill the survey questions, they should look similar. So we're hoping that we're trying to anticipate what we're going to see on the survey. We want to do better. And I think our front of house and back of house teams have been very committed. Is it perfect? No, it is not. We still get the occasional email, hey, dinner was awful. But that has reduced a lot. And we're seeing these types of comments. 48.1% excellent. Now, I want to show, because I did promise that I would do some follow-up. This is April. All right. We're going to look at January, February, and March. So here they are. This is January of 2024. We reopened the restaurants. We had new menus. It was great. Now here's February. Ooh. See how quick things change? Oh, we went to work. We hired Chef Ray. We started to tweak menus. It's a lot of work. Listening to residents, trying to implement, tweak here and there. Here's March. Big change, right? Little things we're finding out make a big difference. Is it perfect? No. Is there more work to do? Yes, but we're committed. We want a great food experience. Is every meal you're gonna have here absolute perfection? Probably not. There are things you probably don't like. Sometimes, even when I go to a restaurant, I'm like, well, let me try this. And then the food comes, I'm like, what did I do? Right? I don't like this. So, but we want to round these dining rooms. We're hopefully you've gotten to know our executive sous chef Shubi, also sous chef Marco, and also Chef Ray. Hopefully you get to talk to them when they're in the dining room and you get to tell them how you feel. And feel free, please do the comment cards, right? Okay, that is it. I'm right on time. I practiced. It pays to practice. So we have some microphones here if you have questions. I'll take any questions. I'm not sure that I will have the answers. If I don't, I'll get back with you. So let's see. I think we have Monique. Thank you, Monique. She's gonna, and Renee will pass some microphones.
Yes, I have a question about the dining room, Alpenglow. As I understand it, for lunch, you would like us to be more dressed than we would be in the casual, in the prickly pear. The problem is you offer so many great activities. So I want to go to the gym. I want to go to exercise class. I'm in between. I don't want to take time to go and change. So isn't there some way, I mean, you want us to utilize it and we would like to. And I hear this from other people too. I would go, except I don't want to have to get spiffed up.
Right.
And there are a lot of residents here who prefer to eat during the daylight hours and have their main meal. And they would go if you could maybe change some of the requirements for dress.
Yep. That's a great question. So we have discussed this. We continue to discuss. The bottom line is we need to keep the integrity of each of these two different services. There's a formal dining and you have a casual dining. I think the past has shown, at least upon my arrival at the community, we had our casual cafe and our DVDR. They were very open to each other. A lot of the same menus. You didn't have distinction anymore. So that's where the decision comes from. And so if you're very active and you're not dressed for Alpenglow, well, on that day, Prickly Pear, perhaps, or the bar or something. The bar is closed. I understand. Yeah. No, once again, the goal is not to be stubborn. The goal is to keep the integrity of each of those services, formal or casual.
If you can wait for a microphone and raise your hands, please, that would help out the rest of the crowd.
How about if you kept your formal, non-formal, but let people just go to the Alpenglow for lunch without reservations? I think that would help with the number of people.
It might be, and it's been discussed too, but there's also, we need to staff. and it's full service, formal. And if we had a lot of participation, we would need to know ahead of time so that we can plan. If not, you're going to have frustrated people because service will be slow. It's a hard battle. It's a hard battle, I get it. But the decision of our management team currently is we want to keep the integrity of each of these different services.
Is there any possibility at all of considering, other than a fireplace in the main area there, maybe going to electronic, because they've come out with some really nice looking stuff?
You mean on the main floor rotunda, what we'll call the living room?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it sucks out all the heat, you
Yeah.
know, in the wintertime, and we don't run it during the summer.
right. So it has been considered, and there's the issue of cost here. Replacing what we have would probably cause us to replace we'd have to demolish a lot of it. And so we feel like that's not me, it's the designers and the construction folks, right? So because of cost and because it currently works, it's a natural flame, which is usually pretty desirable. The decision has been to leave the current fireplace with some small modifications. I appreciate the feedback.
I am curious, when I looked at the living room, what is happening to the bronze statue?
That's a very good question, and perhaps I should have discussed this because the statue is of very high interest to some residents. So the idea is we do want to keep it, but it's going to be relocated somewhere else in the community. And the reason for this is the space needs to open up, and with the statue being in the middle, it just prevents that. So just like we did with the bells, which there were some comments, we'd like to keep them. Can we repurpose? Can we put them back? We feel like we found a fairly good way of keeping the bells. We'll do our very best to keep that statue, but it will be relocated.
Yeah, excuse me. The question just came up at the fireplace and the temperature in the lobby area. And I've wondered, and I noticed we're doing some redesign, but the reality is that to get out of the complex, you go past the front desk, concierge, and you open the door. And most of us are fairly slow and have to maneuver through a door that's now open to the outside.
Yep.
And I've had sort of chats with people, my engineering mind, there's got to be a solution. I don't know what it is. So you think, put two sets of doors. That's rough for folks who are in a wheelchair to have to navigate two sets of doors, or even if you're, so that's not a good solution either. I am conscious of one thing, the pressure inside is less than outside. So when the doors open, somebody's coming in or out, air comes in hot in summer from the outside, in winter, cold air comes from the outside in. Is there any way of adjusting the pressure in that general area so there isn't such a difference from the outside?
That's a very good question. Pressure, now you just sort of lost me with the technical aspect, but what I can tell you is we've looked at this lobby quite a bit.
Oh.
All 10 of our communities have similar lobbies. Some have the vestibule. I can tell you, once again, I was with our California friends for some years. They have a vestibule there. It doesn't prevent the cold. So California doesn't have the heat problem, but they certainly have the cold problem. And so you'll see some of the similar setups with some portable heaters around the area. And I know that it's less than desirable. Now, on most, so we've done a lot of testing, even you can talk to the concierge, just sometimes keeping one door closed on critical days can make a difference up to 8 degrees. We've done the test. I worked with them. So, and we're trying to redesign how we can open the door, meaning, so currently if you exit and the front desk pushes on their button, the left door opens, but residents have access to the right. So we're trying to have a system where at times we can only have one of the two doors that will open. It makes a really big difference. It's really cheap. So we're going to be doing this on what we call the critical days, 115 plus, or if we drop in the 30s. So the beautiful thing is that it's not like this 365 days out of the year. It's only certain times. A couple of weeks during the winter months, and I do understand the summer there's more days there. It's a little warmer. I get it. But we can talk pressure perhaps. I'm not prepared with the technicals there, but if we can prevent air entry.
There are many of us who are height disadvantaged. When you furnish the living room, could you have some chairs that aren't as deep,
Yes,
please?
of course. Yeah, a lot of discussion on chairs height, on the depth, and also the material being too squishy. So when you sit on it, you won't sink. A lot of conversations about this. I think at this stage, the company has a great selection of materials, and also the measurements I think have gotten better. I'm sorry? Yes, they will have casters. Even still, we're trying to get our bar chairs to get 4 casters. That's scheduled to be done. All right, I think I had a question here. Mary? Yep.
I want to return to the statue. I'm sorry, you
Okay.
did a remarkable job with the bells. It's so pleasant to see that the 2 curio cabinets are going to be there. But for quite a long period of time, you've been using the word, the statue will be relocated. Where will it be relocated, and may residents have input
Yeah,
into the
absolutely.
process?
Residents can have input, absolutely.
All right.
I would love suggestions. Now, if we do this, there's no surprise, but maybe we don't do a surprise. And that's fine, no problem. Once again, this process is, we love suggestions. And sometimes, frankly, some of the residents have had some of the great ideas that led to this remodel development. So if it's for the statue and there's a great idea, now please, if you have an idea and it doesn't go through, please, I want to live. All right.
Could we solve the dining room problem by having informal until 2 o'clock and formal afterward, or informal until 3?
Once again, I know there's high demand for this. We can rediscuss, we'll take this into committees. But once again, you start somewhere and then it goes, people want more, more casual, more, and then you end up losing your distinction.
Before the remodel, the dining room was used for lunch and it had a lot of business. I don't know why they're being so stubborn. Anyway, what I really wanted to talk about was the comfort of chairs. And for example, the chairs in the bar, which I think are very attractive, they're very uncomfortable. They have no lumbar support. They just sort of curve in like an airplane. But I think they're lovely looking. And I hope in the living room that they will be comfortable as well as lovely looking. And then I had one other thought. I saw samples of the carpets when I was here at another meeting.
Okay, yeah.
And the pictures don't do them justice because the carpets are a really beautiful teal color green and they look very pale in the pictures. I just wanted to make everybody realize that they're more attractive.
Thank you for reinforcing what I said. The technology here, the display just can't get the colors perfect and the tones. I'm doing my best to show what I can for this group. And once again, we will have some, with the one rendering, we will have a couple of boards that contain some of the carpet samples and paint colors and so on. It's just still in the works. But thank you. I'm glad you saw it. I'm glad you liked it. And I'm glad you were able to see the difference. There is a big difference from the screen. Yeah, it was pale. Thank you. All right, last question, but I'll stick around, okay? You can come and see me and I'll stick around.
I wanted to ask about the other statue homework, which is currently in the edge of the library.
Yep. Yeah, that's planned to remain there.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, this is a little bit smaller. It has very little effect on the design and it's much smaller, just easier to treat than the current space. So thank you very much for your attendance. I will stick around. Maybe Renee will put a little bit more of the doors, but soft so we can hear. Thank you. Have a nice evening.